Oh, what's up, team? We are talking today with Sherry Salada, who has been on before, who is a powerhouse, who is one of my favorite people. So these conversations that I have with Sherry are always good times. So get ready. Get ready. We're going to have a good one. So I'm excited to be having this chat. There's Sherry. Okay, here she comes. Oh, yeah. Sherry, what's up?
Hello, my friend. Hello, my friend. Hello, my friend.
I'm
How are
so happy that
you?
you're here.
Getting my little system going
Yeah,
here.
me too.
Hi, everyone.
We're so excited to have you because Create the Lovers always need an injection of Sherry in their life, a
Ah,
conversation with Sherry Salata.
well, I was listening to you talk about me. You are truly one of my favorite people on the planet. I feel like you are one of you're an international treasure, Mark Rose.
Oh, well,
You
thank
are.
you.
Namaste from India. See, I'm right.
Yeah.
Yes. Hola. Yes. You're an international treasure. But I love our conversations because I always walk away thinking about my life a little differently,
Mm.
about what's possible, about maybe a little shift in perspective, about how I can open my heart or how I can navigate my day in and day out. It always helps me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think our conversations, really lead to more introspection for each of us, more awareness, more thought, more curiosity. And the reason I wanted to bring you on is you and I were having a conversation the other day about responsibility and like you used the term taking the wheel of your life. Is that steering the car?
I
What
did.
what did you say?
Well, I think one of the most interesting things of the last 18 months, and I'm making lemonade here. I realize that everybody had a different experience. I'm making lemonade here, but what one of the most interesting things for me was to see, oh, I'm in charge here, meaning all of a sudden I have this time on my hands. And I began to look at my life like, oh, I'm the scheduler. I need to be the programmer, like what content's coming in. Am I just, vegging out for days on end to anything that's on television? Or am I choosing the energy that I bring into my life? And it just became very clear that if you want to live at that highest level and the highest quality of your daily life experience possible, you've got to be the manager. You've got to be in charge. Your hands have got to be on the wheel.
So instead of Jesus take the wheel, it's you take the wheel. I like that
It's
idea.
Mark, take the wheel. Sherry, take the wheel. And everything I say is, it's a co-creation.
Right.
We're trying to tap into that power from the fifth dimension, that 5D power, where the force, always. But, we're here to be creative beings. And our greatest creation is our life. That's our greatest creation. And the moment that, listen, I spent years thinking life was happening to me.
Mm.
So um, I understand that level of thinking because I come from that. But once I began to realize um, that life wasn't happening to me, that I'm literally emitting energy and a vibration that brings opportunities or lack of opportunities and great people or not so great people, that I am, in a sense, managing by default. And so, what would happen if
Mm.
I put my attention and intention behind it and said, I'm going to decide, number one, that everything matters. There's nothing that doesn't matter. Everything counts. And number two, I'm going to be really responsible for it. I'm going to really make those choices instead of just being a leaf on the wind, letting life happen to me in any old way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I think so much what you said of like I lived a lot of life with it sort of happening to me. And I relate to that. I think a lot of the way I lived life although I wouldn't have identified, perhaps I would have identified as having taken responsibility back then. But I would have said that I sort of only lived a few feet from my body. Like I was sort of living an assigned life, one that they say,
Yeah.
you know, get this done, get this done. And to be honest, I had every fucking thing checked. And when I got to the place where I was, I think, achieving the ultimate form of check mark, which was an engagement, it all came crashing down because I realized, like, wait, and I think this is a really important feeling or emotion that people need to pay attention to. And I wish I'd paid attention more, but it was the perfect beginning of the journey, which was, I remember feeling, I remember thinking, I feel like there's more to life or more to this or
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
And that is
Yeah.
just the invitation
Yeah.
to the totality that you are sort of socialized and cultured and everything
Yeah.
to like live in this myopic lens. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I remember very distinctly, I had that very kind of from the patriarchy, Catholic Church upbringing. And I remember, that was one of the company benefits at the Oprah show, Mark, that I got this exposure to this new way of thinking about life from people like Eckhart Tolle and Gary Zukav and Marianne Williamson and a host of others, that it was like, whoa, that there is something mystical happening if we're willing to tune in
Mm.
and really, like kind of open up our neural pathways, our old belief systems, and kind of open our heart and really live in the miracle of what this incarnation, this experience is. And then so we first of all we say, whoa, something big is happening here. The mystical threads that weave us all together and how synchronicities happen and and how things end up lining up and your beautiful nose and all that. But then if you go to that second stage and you say, not only am I going to accept the fact that I live in a mystical dimension that I don't fully understand, but I know amazing things are possible.
Mm.
What happens if I do it intentionally? What happens then?
What happens if because the first thing you said was like, see everything. What was it? Everything in your life as, what was the,
It's mystical. There
right?
is we're in a mystical dimension. The fact that things, just things grow, that we grow from a teeny tiny little cells. There's something very magical going on. And if you start to look at your life, you start to see those synchronicities and coincidences and how things happen that you never thought were possible. Um, and you tap into that a little bit. And then you say, I'm going to be the driver now.
Right.
I'm gonna be in charge. I'm gonna make the choices. I'm gonna dream the dream, and I'm gonna manifest it. Your life experience changes dramatically.
Yeah, you get to open up to all, because I think that's the part. You tap in to the miraculous. You tap in
Yeah,
to more. You tap in to the simple ability to look at a blade of grass and be wowed, but then to look at your hand and be wowed, to look, even in the miracle of vision. But if you
yeah,
start to just recognize the sort of miracles in the mundane, you're awake to, well, that's cool, then shit, what else is cool? What else is possible? And we seem to sort of be in this, there's a large part of human experience that needs to define things, I think it's Brene Brown who said it, she quoted her scientific research that if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist, and
right.
I think we're starting to learn that, where that there's so much more we don't understand, so much more that, if we start to take the wheel, and I think this is one of those fascinating things about responsibility, is you also have to grieve every moment until that moment that you took the wheel that you didn't. And I think that's a big thing,
Yeah. Ooh, that's it. Those are some dark days. Those
right?
are some dark days and very human days. You know, that sadness knowing that, it's like you always had the power, Dorothy. You always had it, and it feels like a squandering. But the most one of the most miraculous things about being in this human experience is you go to sleep, the sun comes up, you get a whole new chance.
Mm,
If you're lucky. If
right.
you're lucky, you get another day. And another day can be another world. It can be another life. If you're willing to just stir the hope pot and start to see those possibilities for your life. I told you that. I tell you this all the time, that I feel like meeting you so oddly and just haphazardly and it's turned out to be one of the great miracles of my life.
Mm, same.
And it's only because I said yes to something I wasn't going to say yes to, and you showed up and we had a conversation and we followed that conversation up with a dinner, and then it was like, oh my gosh, we're same souled.
Hmm.
We're same hearted, we're same souled. Isn't this fun? And all the wonderful experiences we've had since we first met, which was like what, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that is mysticism. That is mystical, it's also even just saying, it's, throwing the question out there. How many times do you find the answer when you ask the question? So that's really, I continue to try to move out of my old ways, Mark. My old ways of thinking that I'm so busy, I have so much to do, as if I'm somehow in the gulag and I haven't made these choices. And that language, I
Mm,
mean, I had this epiphanal moment that stays with me even now in the control room at the Oprah Winfrey Show when we had Jerry Seinfeld came on the show. He was there. And we were doing our typical, or I'm going to say I was doing my typical executive producer thing, which was, I'm so busy, I'm so tired. I wish I could stay and talk. I have so much to do, and talking about, yeah, producing. I mean, it's 24/7. And Jerry, in his, first of all, I find out later he's been doing transcendental meditation for like 30 years. So that explains one part of this. But he looked at me and said, this is your life. It's yours to design.
mm.
And, there's a little part of me, maybe initially I'm like, oh, sure, you're a billionaire and famous comedian.
Yeah.
But there was truth to that. It was mine to design. And why am I continuing to argue for this burnt out craziness? Why don't I take responsibility and think about what kind of life do I want to design?
I
And what
remember.
kinds of, remember
Sorry,
that?
go on. Go on.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, with that, I mean, I remember just hearing someone say once that everything that got into your life is there because you said yes to it. And I remember thinking, oh, I don't like that, because it's like, because there was so much, there was the sort of design of my life that, I was in the emergence of creating and writing, but I still had a similar, sort of dialogue in my head. And that sneaks in my head today, about busyness. And you realize, like, in complaining about busy, it's like we're the ones who fricking created the calendar. Like,
Right,
we can say yes
right.
to and no to things, and we can create balance. And I think that's I remember listening to a talk where a guy said, if you don't design your life, someone else will do it for you, and you won't like what they come up with. And I'm like,
Oh,
hell yeah, you
true
don't.
that. That's totally true. Well, listen, I didn't like the life I was designing, but I didn't know I was
Same.
doing it. It's like I have to have a job, and now that job is designing my life, and stress is designing my life, and a to-do list as long as Santa Claus list is designing my life. And that's really, the epiphanal moment is when you say, I'm going to stop telling that story and I'm going to realize that this really is in my hands and that I can start I can start creating little bits of space. You know, you don't have to like you don't have to leave your life and go live in a yurt, but I can start creating a little bit of space here and there and here and there to begin to do those practices that reinforce in me that I'm in charge, that I'm empowered, that I am creating this. And I can start to feel more like my hands are on the wheel and that I am doing a good job of managing things. I mean, I think this is one of the things that you teach all the time, you know, um, living at the highest level of possibility for yourself requires being a trustworthy steward.
Mm.
You are the trustworthy steward of you. And there have been many years in my life where I haven't been trustworthy. My stewardship has been shaky or, um, like I said, created by default. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what I work toward now. It's like, how can I build the trustworthiness and the competence and the elevation of my own stewardship over my life and all the areas of my life?
One, how do we begin that? Because, that's an act of building self-trust, like if,
Yeah.
I remember hearing the question of like the ultimate question to ask when you're in a relationship is my partner reliable? Will they be there for me?
Right.
And I think about what you're saying from a context to ourselves, which is, am I reliable? Like, will I be there for me? And I think what you're inviting is begin to be there for yourself, begin to steward yourself.
Well, yes. And I think you would say this, the most important relationship of all is you and you.
Right. And Abraham Hicks too.
It's you and you. It's you and the big YOU. It's you and your soul and your inner being. It's your guidance, your connection to the force. It's you. So, and that's where, listen, that is where so many of us have struggled, and I certainly have for a long time because I'm still, I'm still evolving myself out of those old ways where everything comes first before me. Everybody comes first before me. I had this crazy moment, Mark, during, lockdown, where all of a sudden I was observing myself and I work for myself now, so I don't go to an office to begin with. And there's nowhere to go. There's no meetings to go to, no trips to go to. I'm literally locked down. And I am like carrying my tote to the kitchen table and reporting for duty by 8:30
Checking in,
a.m.,
yeah.
clickety clacking the keys, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like set that down. Who designed that for you? You can work at 6 in the morning for an hour and then go take a walk at 10. But I had this, like, anything that moved me away from my kitchen table desk when it wasn't lunch break, like, created this stress and this anxiety in me.
Like
So
your
I
own
got
lunch
to
break.
see,
Yeah.
wow, you have been trained. You got to untrain yourself. This is yours to design, this gift, this opportunity to manage this joyride and keep making it more joyful.
Yeah, I used to work in the area of oncology and hematology. And, what I would notice is that inevitably, I remember doing like a shadow time with a doctor, and I was in the patient room when he was speaking to one of the patients and basically informing him that his cancer was terminal.
Oh,
And I'd never been, I mean, I'd been in places where those types of things have been communicated in personal experiences, but never actually with someone who didn't know me and et cetera, et cetera. But like really seeing those words land on someone in the moment. And I was so, one, like taken by the moment because the moment was really compassionate and empathic and loving. and so human. And I remember leaving that and studying what was the impact of that type of moment on someone. And,
Right.
they talk about survivorship, that like when someone finds out that they might have sort of a calendar entry deadline, they really start to live. They really start to do the things they love. They really start to have the conversations, or not, but ideally most people do that because there's sort of an urgency and
Right.
a finality. And
Yes.
I think one of the sort of great, I would say maybe things that we don't do well as humans is we don't acknowledge that, like we're so afraid of finalities, of endings and discomfort, where like, I remember listening to Alan Watts where he said, follow death all the way, like go explore it, discover it, go all the way to the end, because it's sort of like talking about death and acknowledging death actually promotes living, right?
Right.
It's so interesting because like ultimately being rejected for a thought, feeling, belief, goal, dream is really this feeling like someone else will not love me, someone else will not affirm me, someone else, I might fail. Like all of these are discomforts and endings and experiences we don't want to have. But we then never get to have all the joy, all of the elation, all of the possibility, all the miracles,
I think that's so wise and so timely that, um, I don't know if you agree with this, but I remember when I first really started to think about how many days do you have left. I had gone through my brother's sudden death, my mother's 5-year battle with cancer. And so I would, whether I wanted to, get up close to it or not, there I was. And and that's exactly right. You know why you get so focused is because all of a sudden those sands in the hourglass are finite. Even though they're
right?
finite right now. They're finite right now. They're finite for you, they're finite for me, they're finite for everybody watching, but they get real finite. We're able to kind of ignore that and just waste our days in any old way because who's counting? Who knows? We definitely, it's almost like we're in such denial that we miss the preciousness of what each day means. I going through those experiences, I ended up saying to myself, okay, I'm going to dream like I'm going to live to be 100. Like I'm just going to keep dreaming and keep dreaming and keep dreaming and keep manifesting and keep expanding. But I'm going to live like this may be my only day.
Mm.
And if I get it, if I wake up, I get this one, but tomorrow's not promised. And that, listen, I fail most days to like really
Mm.
hold that spirit the whole day. But that is the spirit of joyful living for sure.
That differentiation of dream like I'm going to live to 100, live as if I only had today is such a, well, it still allows you that possibility.
Yes.
It still allows you everything, but at the same time, you're being mindful to be present to the taste of everything today. And, so often we get lost in what the future might hold, how it might turn out, that we don't live our fullest. And, I was thinking, I wanted your opinion on this because I was thinking about it the other day, and you and I have talked about this idea of like always living at your highest knowing, right? Once you
Right.
learn something, integrate it, because if you don't integrate it, you're going to hurt a lot. And I was thinking the other day, I was asked by my friend Traver Boehm, he was like, what's integrity to you? And, I said to him, like, integrity to me is living in your most aligned self, in your most highest level of knowledge. Now, I was saying, because it was sort of coming out of me as I was saying it, which was that if you do not implement things you've learned that will upgrade you as a human and your possibility and what you need to change, heal, adjust, you're actually not in integrity with your soul. You're not in integrity with your highest self. And as I said it, I was like, yeah, that felt true.
That's
And
my highest level of knowing.
it also felt like a heavy thing to say to someone, because I think so many of us are living with unintegrated or unexpressed or expanded wisdom,
We
why do I keep
know.
making that choice? And it's
We
like, maybe,
know. We
right.
really know. Well, listen, I think it's one of the most brilliant things you've ever said to me. You know that knocked me off my chair when you said that to me at dinner. I couldn't stop thinking about it. That, here's what I love about living at the level of your highest knowing. It means that you get to make mistakes and you get to be human. But once you figure it out, now there's a responsibility. You have a responsibility to your own soul to live at that new level. And what, as I hear you describe that being out of integrity because you're not living at that highest level, that feels bad. That's when you feel bad,
Mm-hmm.
walking around in your day to day, when you feel like purposeless, and you feel like gloomy, and you feel like things don't work out, and you can't see the light. It's that gap, I think, exactly that you're describing, because
Right.
the things you got to rise up and embody them for sure.
Yeah, the conversation you need to have, the choice you need to make, the responsibility you need to take. It's like if you're driving down the highway, getting back into that car metaphor, and you are like, I think this is the exit, and you take the exit, and it's maybe getting hammered and dancing on a speaker, drinking a lot of tequila, having a one night stand. And I'm not shaming any of those things. I'm just saying it could be that exit. And then you take it, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, I don't feel good about the choice I made. I don't, da 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 da. You have a learning that's an opportunity, and you then get to the exit again and you take it again. If you take it again, you didn't learn, and then you wake up in the exact same position,
Yeah,
you
you're out
know?
of integrity with your highest knowing, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You already knew this. You already knew this.
And then they're
And
like, I don't know
listen,
why I
we
feel
can
so
go back
bad.
and redo that all the time. But the price for that, we can go
Oh,
back. You get to keep choosing that exit over and over and over and over and over and over again. The price for
oh,
those choices, feeling bad, being unhappy. Those are the choices. That's the price.
there's a
So,
price.
and you'll stop doing it. I've in my own life, I would only stop doing the things that were out of alignment with my highest knowing that I did over and over and over again when I decided this unhappiness was too much to bear.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be unhappy like this anymore. So, yes, I'm going to just rise up and live at that level of knowing. Um, and I guess here's the good news. We can all get there on our own time. But I think what you're saying is, which is what I'm saying, let's speed it up.
Right. Hit
Let's
the
speed it
gas,
up.
grab the wheel.
I whisper that to myself all the time. Let's speed this up. Let's speed this up. Come on, let's close this gap. Let's speed this up. Let's be in joy. You know,
Ironically, that's not the shortcut. That's actually the fastest way to get there. The long cut is the keep taking the exits, wondering why life works out. But that is normalized. Like when you look at normal life, that's
yeah,
normalized.
yeah. Well, listen, for most of us, we were raised by good. I always think about this, that you're not really just raised by your parents. You're raised by the last three them, the people who raised them, the people who raised them, the people who raised them. So it's a lineage thing. There's ingrained pathways and patterns and things. And just think about it, like, did they have the leading edge enlightenment of no? It's like, cover your heads, shit's gonna fall from the sky, for God's sake. It's very fear based.
Right.
And as a humankind, we're evolving in our understanding of how things work. But also, I remind myself, be gentle, Sherry. You're being raised by people who are walking around in the 1800s. There's
Give it some context, right?
you know what I'm saying? It's like you're having to make quantum leaps in your understanding about things. Quantum leaps. You know, we have understanding now that our parents never, they couldn't even come close to touching that. You know, it's almost like the ancient wisdom is now being understood in a very tactical, practical way. So, yay for living in this time and being able to take advantage of it so we can close that gap.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you're saying because it delivers compassion to the generations above us, some context to
Yeah.
like why they related the way they did. You know, my parents both grew up really poor. They both grew up in totally different times. My grandparents, oh my gosh, on a much greater level. Uh, and
World
my,
wars, depressions.
right, moving, I mean, colonizing, moving, all the different
Yeah.
things, being colonized. Like there's so much different context to inherited trauma, which, you know, I saw someone said is supported by the research, and also that we can change things, neuroplasticity, epigenetics. I mean, we've got so much possibility at our fingertips, and we've never had more wisdom and knowledge sort of available that you can download from someone else's brain when you read your book, like your book, The Beautiful No, like how a no can transform your life. The thing
Yeah.
that you might have thought was the worst moment of your life, and it could have been, transformed your path and brought
Yeah.
you to a different place. And,
That's for
you
sure.
know, I found just when I thought everything was over, that, as that saying is, that was just the beginning. And that is true in micro moments and true in macro moments. And, you know,
They
as
weren't
I see,
talking about this in 1930, Mark.
no, no. And if they
They were
did,
talking about the
they got
beautiful
roasted
no in
probably.
1930.
No, especially for women. They were like, yes, just say yes to everything,
They were
you
being
know,
like, keep pipe down, you. That's what they were saying to women.
pipe
Pipe
down.
down.
I'm curious because, you know, there's a lot of feedback in the comments of just like how much people are appreciating this conversation. And so I know that you are launching something new. So please
I
share.
am. Thanks, Mark. I am going to do, I did a challenge in January that was so much fun. And we had people from all over around the world, and it's free. So starting May 24th through 28th, design your life 5 day, 1 hour workshop once a day for 5 days, and it's free. And we'll be talking about these very same things, like really thinking about what happens when you shift your perspective and say, I'd like the tools to design my life. I am
Mm,
going to design it. I'm going to think about it like a piece of art, my life, like a piece of art, and that I am the designer, I am the artist. And, you know, in making those shifts of perspective, what kinds of things can I bring to bear that can, you know, sometimes it's the little shifts, it's the little shifts, a little bit right, a little bit left, that really take your life experience to a whole new level. You know, your next thing you know, you're having downloads and epiphanies because, as I've said to you for years, you already know everything. You
yeah, I
know,
love when
like
you remind me of those things. Like I'm like worried about something and you're like,
you already know
just
everything. You
trust.
already know everything. And you are your guru. You are your expert. You are your master teacher. And when we can get a little bit more confident about that with a bit of a strategy and a plan, which we'll work on for 5 days, then you can feel like you can take the wheel. And I know that, you know, it's such a short amount of time, but that focus time really helps you um, you know, really think about new possibilities for your life and really think about what would happen if I did take the wheel and designed my life. So all of that's sherrysalada.com. I'd pin it if I knew how to do that. I don't know how to do that. Um,
Let me do it.
and you can register. It's free. I have giveaways. I have some really cool giveaways. There
Tell
are going to
us
be
about the giveaways.
some of little assignments. And I have, I have this transformational artist, Stephanie Chen, who's an Instagram influencer who I adore and admire so much. I worked with her and we created these custom artistic workbooks. So every day you're going to get a really special workbook. Every afternoon, later in the day, you'll get a downloadable poster size of all the gems that we unpacked. So it's pretty cool.
It's
It's a
at,
really
I'll
fun
just put it,
experience.
it's at sherrysalada.com, right?
Yeah, it sure is.
Okay,
sherrysalada.com.
I think I got it right. Hold
Thanks,
on.
Mark. Well,
I
thanks
think
for
it's,
mentioning
did
it.
I get it
And
right?
it's,
Did I get it right?
hey, Court's listening. Can you put the link to register? It's
Yeah, put it up, Court.
put it
Put
up,
up the
Court.
link and I'll pin it.
We love Court.
Well, I know you said in 5 days, like in 5 days, someone can completely transform their whole stuff.
No
And it might
question.
feel like just a beginning, but it's 5 days of an offer of new awareness, new ways of being, new ways of seeing. And the other thing that's just so powerful about it is you're in the company of other people doing it. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's everything too, is like,
That's
but
what we
my
need to
friends
know.
don't
We
do
need to know
that.
we're not alone. We need to know
Right.
we're not alone. Speaking of, you say, can you make a change in 1 hour a day for 5 days? Going back to that conversation you and I had in Canada so many years ago when you said, I try to live at the level of my highest knowing. I'm still talking about that. That completely shifted my perspective. It gave me a new way to look at, oh, okay. Because there's understanding and compassion and accountability and direction just in that one phrase. And those are the kinds of things that happen in an hour a day in 5 days, that you hear that one thing that you go, oh, wow, I never saw it that way.
Right.
That is going to inform everything very differently.
Well, I could tell all of you watching that Sherry has been a guide and a mentor for me and an incredible friend. And I would recommend 100,000,000% signing up and tapping into her knowledge that I've had the pleasure of. I wish there was a 5 hour, 5 day challenge we did together so that you could just teach me for 5 days straight. I
I
picked
know.
up
Maybe
all
we'll
the
do something
gems
together one of
along the
these
way.
days, Mark.
I agree. I think we should. And to all of you watching, go sign up. It starts on 24th, 5 days of
Thanks,
magic.
everybody.
Design your life. Sherry, thank you for coming on. I love you. I appreciate you.
I love you so much. I always love talking to you. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, have a beautiful day.